Can landlords recover lost rent from abandoned property? Imagine coming home after a long day and finding your rental unit empty with no notice. It might be a case of tenant abandonment, but can you really recover the rent you lost? That's what we're here to find out. When a tenant leaves a property without telling you and stops paying rent, it's called abandonment. This situation can be tricky because laws about abandonment and rent recovery vary by state. Usually, if a tenant leaves without notice, stops paying rent, and takes most of their belongings, it's considered abandonment. But you can't just assume they've abandoned the property. You need to follow legal steps. First, you should send a written notice to the tenant stating that you believe they have abandoned the unit. This notice should include a deadline for them to respond or reclaim their belongings. Proper documentation is key. Take photos of the empty unit, record the date, and keep copies of all notices sent. Once you have proof, you can handle the abandoned property. Laws generally requiring you to store the tenant's belongings safely for a certain period, which varies by state, often 30 days. If the tenant doesn't reclaim their belongings within that time, you can dispose of or sell the items following local laws. Now, about the rent. You are responsible for trying to re-rent the unit as soon as possible. This process is called mitigating damages. If you can find a new tenant quickly, you can recover rent owed up to the point of abandonment. Some states allow landlords to recover rent for the remaining lease period if re-renting isn't possible, but you must make reasonable efforts to find a new tenant. Even if the tenant has left, you might need to go through formal eviction procedures or an abandonment process to regain legal possession. This helps protect you from liability and ensures everything is done correctly. Including specific clauses in your lease about abandonment and extended absences can make handling these situations easier. These clauses set clear expectations and procedures, saving you time and legal trouble later. To sum up, landlords can recover lost rent from abandoned properties, but it's not automatic. You need to follow the legal steps carefully, sending notices, documenting everything, handling belongings properly, and making efforts to re-rent. If you skip these steps, you risk legal disputes or losing your right to recover unpaid rent. So, understanding your state's laws and your lease terms is essential to successfully recovering rent after tenant abandonment.